6255 1206 is the number if you want to join us. Give us a call. Tell us what's on your mind. Time to talk to One Nation leader, Senator Pauline Hanson. Pauline, good morning.
Good morning, Stephen.
Now, there was an announcement, and this is after the Queensland government banning the use of puberty blockers on young children. There's going to be a national review into the treatment of young people with so-called gender dysphoria. Now, you say this has vindicated you, but I'm concerned about who's going to be on this review.
Well, I am too, and I don't think we require it. As I've pointed out many times in the floor of Parliament, this has come back in a report from New Zealand, the CAS report. Also, we've had it in the UK. There's been other reports being handed down. It is proven. Even Gillian Spencer, a psychiatrist who lost her job over this, and she stood up for what the damage has been done, she's been vindicated as well. We have enough evidence out there to tell us it is not good for the children. It is irreversible, and the parents losing control over their children. We need to stop it immediately. We don't need another report. We don't need another review handed down mid-next year. That's another 18 months away. It's ridiculous. And they're just kicking the can down the road.
I just think it's extraordinary because I think, look, I got no problem with a review into something this serious. But, if it's fair income, okay. But my concern is this is going to be stacked out with trans activists rather than psychologists and medical professionals who can actually tell us what the real impacts of these things are.
I agree with you, but they can't tell us the real impact of it because it hasn't been around long enough to actually have the real impact. But I know what parents have told me.
Yeah.
I know the impact it's had on their children, and they've completely turned a blind eye to it because you've got these ones out there pushing their own agenda and what they think is right. And it's not. It's going to destroy our children.
Well, and in some cases it already is. Now, you've announced another policy. I was only talking to the Shadow Treasurer earlier this morning about our tax policy, and I think we need to set fire to it and start again. But you've talked about lifting the tax threshold for self-funded retirees.
Look, we put out a tax policy for the aged pensioners and veterans to be able to work unlimited hours, pay tax on that like every other Australian does, but it doesn't affect their pension. They've worked hard for it. They're entitled to it. They're over 67 years of age. But when you become a self-funded retiree, you're no drain on the taxpayer. You actually have to fund yourself for everything that you do. But their tax break is like every other Australian, up to $18,600, approximately that. And what I'm saying is give them independent self-funded retirees a tax break up to $35,000. So therefore, they're going to get something back. They're the ones that actually invest in Australian stocks, in housing, other investments they have. They've gone without. They're entitled to it. They don't get the pension. So I think that we should be rewarding them for the fact that they're not a drain on the taxpayer.
Are you? I guess the concern I have here is the double dipping aspect, and I'm not saying that people are entitled to a pension, but if you're getting the pension and you're getting the tax break, there is a bit of a double dip there. You're not concerned about that?
It's not the tax. See, don't get mixed up with the taxpayer, with age pensions. Age pensioners get the pension. They can go out and work and pay the taxes on the money they earn without it affecting. Self-funded retirees. So
this is just for self-funded retirees. Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Self-funded retirees up to a tax break of $35,000 before they start paying tax on it. Stephen, we're lacking people out there with expertise and knowledge. Just because you're over 67 doesn't mean you should be thrown on the scrap heap.
No.
A lot of these people lost their jobs because of COVID, and we need health professionals, we need paramedics, we need people with that experience and knowledge. Give them the opportunity to work without affecting their pensions, their aid pensions, and veterans as well. And then instead of bringing migrants in from overseas, so they say, for the skilled shortage, which a lot of these people aren't, because in 22-23, we brought in 737,000, only 51,605 were skilled. So we're actually flooding the country with people more going on a housing.
Yeah, well, and that's the point. I got no problem with bringing in skilled migrants as long as they're skilled to fill the skills gaps we've got. But that doesn't seem to be what the case. But have you worked out what sort of cost is this going to mean to the bottom line?
I don't think you should be looking at the cost. I think the government needs to pull their head in with what they're spending their money on. But the whole fact it's going to help our economy as well. People are not going to drain on it. We need workers. So these people, pensioners, if they're going out there working, taking up a job, they're paying tax on it. So where's the drain there?
But do we need to have a broader look at this issue? Because I think, there's a lot of scope in what you're talking about here that could benefit industry. And I look at things like police, for instance. Now, we could have retired police officers manning the desks at police stations and doing those kind of jobs, not the physical stuff that they might have done prior to retirement, but taking a lot of the pressure off frontline police. When it comes to nursing, a lot of the admin stuff that nurses say that they're being bogged down with could be done by, retired nurses under your scheme. I mean, do we need to look at it more broadly than just the tax break?
Yes, definitely. I would dearly love to do that. Australians are actually struggling because of cost of living, and this will help pensioners because we can't. Already we pay out in welfare about $260 billion a year. We cannot afford to just go out there and willy-nilly increase it. We have to encourage people to do their little bit, get back in the workforce. These people have the experience and knowledge and the expertise to actually take up these positions. We're lacking social workers, people, psychiatrists, and this type of thing. People have retired because the whole system is broken. They're fed up with it. Teachers are walking away. The older teachers, they're fed up with what's happening in classrooms. They're screaming out for teachers. They're screaming out for nursing staff. I talk to these people. They're not retirement age, I can tell you. They'd dearly love to. Give them the opportunity. Why not? What cost is going to be the taxpayer? Except, we're going to benefit from their experience anyway.
Well, it's funny you say that. I was only talking to a friend of mine the other day who was saying that, when you think back to when we were kids and somebody who was 50 or 60 seemed old, whereas nowadays we are aging slower, if that makes sense. People who once upon a time probably couldn't have worked beyond retirement age are a lot fitter and healthier than they once were. Well,
the fact is, I don't believe people are working as hard now as what they used to be years ago.
Well, that's probably true too.
Yeah. So, well, they don't, I can assure you. And I'm one of those old girls, Stephen, so I understand the workload that we used to have years ago and the physical work that even farmers, they didn't have machinery, they didn't have everything, they didn't have their phones, and now they're sitting at home because they don't want to go into the office, they don't want to work. So it's a totally different society what it was, and we've lost the work ethic.
It's a novel approach, isn't it, when people get up in arms that they've actually got to go to work to do their job, isn't it? Pauline, good to talk to you. We'll catch up next week.
All right, thanks, Stephen.
Pauline Hanson, One